Okay. Okay, so I think we saw on the approval wherein we saw
Yeah,
this auto approval, but the hierarchy or the approval group, yeah, right. Approval group we created it and we attached it, so that's where we got this issue. So we said that
true.
we'll in this one. So I'll just show this one because I tried in the other instance, I mean, which got refreshed. So I tried there. So probably I'll show here. So how we are setting up because system considers this consensus uh, method, but we were checking on the other thing. So I'll just show where we are doing it, and here again we'll have to create the procurement agent. So what I will do is that, so I'll try to create this person as the procurement agent, and we'll try to create one purchase order with the existing setup. So we'll not do the setup. So with the existing one, we'll try to create the purchase order, and we'll see how this approval is working.
Okay.
Okay, so yeah, so it is this thing, so that is getting populated there. So if we see the approval rules, but then what we used is this serial.
Oh,
Okay, so there are few scenarios that will use serious as a, I mean, FYI is understandable, that is for information, but there are two things that we will use. So one
mm,
is serial and also this one, parallel. So parallel meaning that we send the request to different parties and whoever approves first, so that particular request will be approved, which means that purchase order will be approved. So that's a
okay.
scenario, but then somehow this is not working in the test environment. So I had it in my other project. So that's why I configured this. Okay. So this is consuming only this particular route, that is consensus. Okay. So I'll just use this one. So probably for the BP and the other things. So we'll have to see the terms, and so this is what I was referring to terms when I say BPA. Okay, so this is what I'm referring to. So we'll see this approval configuration when we see the BPA. Okay, so for now, what I will do is that, so I'll use this method. Okay, so that is pre-approval consensus. So this is not enabled, so I'll have to just create one rule and enable this
Mm,
particular method. Okay.
okay.
Okay, so I'll just duplicate this page and create the approval group because we did create this approval group. So wherein we went to this BPM worklist and we created there. So again, the same activity I will have to do here. So I'll just go to this BPM worklist and create that as well. So to send the all task. Okay, so the reason why I'm doing this activity is that, so because here in the procurement, as I said, so this is inside the procurement module, so we'll not be able to create the approval group there inside that module. So that's the reason I'm going
Okay.
outside this module and creating this.
We are creating the approval group. Is it like on the other day you showed one of the user we are assigning there and
Yeah, correct.
okay, fine. Got it.
Yeah, correct. So this is below 50,000 and the user is So sometimes actually this issue will come. So because if you see here, so if I click this option, so it should open another screen. So wherein I'll be able to search for the user. But then this is
Okay.
accessible basically based on the employee role that we assign to this particular user. So there are some cases that it will come along with the employee role, and the others are like, so we will have to create one custom role, so which will give us access for the this thing approval management.
Okay.
So just say save and close. Me attach the buyer also. Okay, I think this is also not added, so I'll just quickly create one user because this is mandatory setup to give.
Okay, one user we are creating. Are we linking or new user we are creating?
No, I'm just
Okay,
linking
link. Okay.
because we already have this user, so I'll
Yeah.
use this.
Okay.
So I'll just say this is the manager. Okay. So this is the only one manager that we are setting up. Okay, so I'll just use this here. So now if I go to the screen, so I'll just say, uh, okay, I'll just give the same name. Okay. Okay, so I'll use the same condition, so which we used on the other day. So we gave two conditions. So one is buyer, and the other one is that the amount. Okay. So for this, I'll give this user. So which means that if the buyer is funny, so then this should basically initiate the approval process which we have defined. So now we are defining that this as buyer is this, but now if I don't have probably the buyer condition, so which means that I have the amount. So if this amount is reached, so whoever creates this particular purchase order, and this is the business unit, so system automatically sends it to the stock Helen, so which is the manager. Okay, so here I'll just say this is document. Yeah, so this is the one document ordered amount. So here I'll say, so this is less than 50,000. Okay, and in the action, so I'll have to attach the approval group.
We will search by the description, is it? Below 50.
Um, okay.
Was that
I
deployed or
don't know
something
if
or?
it is.
Yeah.
No, it's only the save. I think I saved this record.
Okay. Received
Yeah.
successfully.
I don't know if it is case sensitive because sometimes it will be kind of a case sensitive.
Okay.
I'll try to open again because sometimes because of the issue with saving the data, so it will not appear there. So let me try to query again because it's the standard setup. So if we create
Okay.
it there in the approve group, so it should be getting here, but then
Okay.
somehow it's not appearing.
So there is no role issue also here, right? Like this funny user also has the all the roles.
Yeah, roles are there. Yeah. Because those missing parts I have done it already, so no other things that we have. So ideally it should be appearing there. So that's
Okay.
why I just wanted to check if this is created or not. It is here. Maybe I'll just try to create it from scratch. Okay, the business unit is different. Maybe because of this it's not appearing. Let me take just some other manager who has access to the one that we selected, that is Supremo. Okay. Okay, let me try to do with this person. Maybe. So, Okay, I'm not sure why this is not appearing. So, can we meet tomorrow? Let's not waste time. So, let me check this because ideally
Okay.
this should be. Yeah,
It is, even though the group is created there, it is not appearing after such whole group.
yeah, that's what.
Are
Even
we like,
I,
Arun, can you please try searching other groups which are already there, like below that, is whether those are appearing? Like, yeah, for example, AVHS group,
yeah, maybe
just for the sake of, oh,
this is appearing.
came immediately. There is some, yeah, space if we put underscore instead of space or name only, yeah,
Yeah,
custom. Custom. I think is there, is it? Yeah, all are coming. New one is not coming, is it?
yeah.
So after creating here, administration, custom rule. In the group user. Okay.
I'll just try to log out and log in once. So for time being, I'll just select this because sometimes the synchronization will also create issue, but not exactly sure if that is the issue. So let's try to,
Arun?
uh, yeah,
No audible?
yeah, yeah. I mean, I was saying, so sometimes the
Yeah.
synchronization will cause some issue. So I'm just
Yeah, am I
using
audible,
this.
Arun?
Yeah, yes, you're audible. So can you hear me?
Hello?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Am I audible to you, Arun?
Yeah, yeah, yes, you're audible.
Yes. Yeah, okay. So, yeah. you ran that sync, right? So is that completed or that was like pending?
Yeah, that is not mandatory actually. So if there is any role or the user management that we have created, so we can schedule that job. So it will take care of the synchronization process. So that's the use of that process. But here we are doing, yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Yeah, so that's the use of that program. But then what I am doing is that so the approval process, but for this, so it's not mandatory to have that, but still I just wanted to check if that is at least working.
Okay.
Yeah, now it is appearing. Maybe some synchronization issues, I think. So I'll just say okay. Okay, so
Okay,
I'll
so
just
I'll just say.
enabling this option.
Okay.
So let me try to disable this, the serial. Okay. So now I'll try to create one purchase order. Sorry, this should be. I just try to create again because the amount should be lesser than 50,000. So I'll just say it, it is 40,000 or maybe 30,000. I'll say. Okay. So, okay. So I'll have to give this one also. So that is the charge account. So charge account, I don't think that will be defaulted, so it should be the manual option. Yeah, so we'll have to give the expense type. So I'll just select this as the same account, that is office rent. Okay, so the rest of the things we have already seen it, so I'm just uh, creating the transaction directly. Okay, so I'll just save and submit this transaction. Okay, so I'll submit this. Yeah, so this is the purchase order. So this is the login that I should be using. So this one we don't have it because this is seeded one, so which comes along with the test environment. Okay, so
Yeah.
what I will do is that, so I'll take this username and do the password reset, and we'll try to log in using that user name, I mean the login credentials, and we'll see if the request has received. Ideally, the request should have been received. So we'll go to security console and search for the user. Yeah, this is the one. Okay, so yeah, so before that, let me check if the approval is sent to the manager. So which we can see in the same thing. So that is transaction console.
Yeah.
So yeah, so we can see that it is submitted from by Bunny, and now this is pending with Kelvin Roth. So we have resetted the password. So I'll just sign out and sign in using this one. Yeah, so I think this is the purchase order. Yeah, 6562. So this is the one that we created. So So if we view this, so we'll get the purchase order information. So now to view this information, so I don't need a separate role for this because this will give only the high level information. So if you see, so this is the chart account and who has raised it and what is the supplier name and what is the amount. So all those details I can see here. But then if I want to see more information, so then I will need this purchase order screen access. Okay, so for now, what I'll do is that, so I'll say approve. I'll say submit. So now if we go to the purchase order screen, if we query with that particular purchase order, so we should be seeing the status as approved because we had basically only one approval that is defined in the system. Dot. Yeah, so we can see the status as open. Okay. So now, since this is PO matched invoice, so we can do the invoicing. So invoicing, it is the same process. So we saw for the other one, so that is for the automatic approval for the purchase order. So we saw how to create that invoice there and match it with the purchase order. Okay. So it's the same thing. So I'm not creating the invoice, so I'll just show the screen because it's been 2 3 days. So I'll just show where we do this activity, but I'm not creating the entire flow because it's the same activity. Okay. So okay, I think role is not assigned. Money. So the role that we will need is accounts payable manager. Yeah. So this is the one. So I'll just say add. Okay, so the one that we gave is accounts payable manager, and the business unit is Supremo US business unit. Okay, so again, this program is not mandatory. So if I log out and log in, so this will take care. But then just I created it, so I don't want to wait, so I'm just running this program, but it's not mandatory to run this. So primarily what this program will do is that, so whatever the role that I have created and whatever the user that I have associated here in the user management, okay, so it will basically do the synchronization between the user and role. So that's the role of this particular schedule process. So this is not to be taken from the setup, but this is one of the schedule process. So similar to the other processes that we had. Okay. So we can even schedule this process. Okay. So it's the same thing. Okay. So I'll just go back to this. So we should be seeing the payables now. If not, probably I'll just log out once. Yeah. So it is here. Okay, I think I'll have to again give the another role, that is accounts payable invoice preparer. Okay, so I'll just explain it because we have seen it already. Maybe if needed, let me know. I can just attach the role. Since we have done it already, I'm just skipping that part. I'll just do this explanation. Okay, so the process is like this. So here I will have my purchase order number. So I'll have to input it here. Okay, so once that is done, so I'll have to give the number and the amount. So once this is done, so if I give this option to match invoice lines, so I can match the lines. Okay, so that is about it. So now what I will do is that, so I will try to create this as an advance, because if you remember, so we saw two things. So one is that with the purchase order, that is two-way matching, So we'll do two things. So one is that with invoice, so which we have already seen it. Okay. So the second thing that we are talking about is with the prepayment or the advance. Okay. So advance is nothing but the prepayment. So how do we identify is that using the invoice type? Okay. So I'll just give the role and I'll come back to this screen and I'll show what are the activities that we will do in this process. So I'll go to security console. Okay, this is the one. Okay, so quickly I'll give access to the Supremo unit. Okay, so I'll just run this process. Okay, I think this process is running, so probably I'll just log out and log in once.
Okay.
Yeah, so now I have this. So first thing here, if you see, so it's this type which determines what kind of transaction that we are creating. Okay. So now, purchase order or the receipt transaction. So this is generic. So it has nothing to do with these types. So there will be a common requirement wherein based on the purchase order or the receipt transaction that I'm creating. So usually for the advance, you will not have the receipt transaction because it is when I receive the item is when I will create the receipt transaction. So now for this I'll have only the purchase order transaction. So the common requirement that we'll get is that so if I'm creating this as an prepayment, let's say I'm capturing this in my description or somewhere in the purchase order screen. So automatically I wanted to pick up this prepayment. So functionally, this is not feasible. So what we will have to do is that so we have something called application composer. So this is kind of a technical development which they will have to do it. So what they will do is that so they will have this field customized saying that if the invoice type is prepayment or this particular prepayment is mentioned in the purchase order screen, something like a DFF. So if this is identified, then this value should be populated. So which they will have to write and pick this value. Okay. So functionally it is not possible. So probably we'll have to do a small tweak there at the technical end to achieve that. Okay. Yeah, so for now, I'll just say this is prepayment. Okay, so I'll just take this purchase order number. Okay, so I'll just use the number as this and I'll say match. Okay, I think this needs to be given. So I'll just say it is the same date. So apply after is basically, so today I'm creating this advance payment, which means today I'm making this advance to the vendor. So at least when I can use this, which means that if I wanted to use probably 10 days later, so I will give here as probably 13th of January. Okay. So it depends on the business requirements of when they wanted to give it. Okay. Yeah, so I'll just say match. Okay, I think the self billing was enabled at the purchase order, so it's just the warning, so I'll just skip that. Okay, so now here again, if you see, so we'll not have the quantity here, it's only the amount that you'll see because we gave the fixed price. Okay, so that's the reason. So if you see here, so I'll just say okay. Okay, so which will match this particular amount and whatever the information that we have in the purchase order, so those information will be copied. Okay, so if you remember, so this is the description that we gave. So similarly, the other fields as well. Okay, so I'll just say save and validate this invoice. So now for the regular invoice, if you see, so we will see the status as validated. Okay. But then here, so we have the additional status also. Okay, the tax amount maybe. So let me save and validate. Yeah. So, as I was saying, so here if you see, so for the normal standard invoice, so you will see the status as validated, but here the status will change to available. So when the status will change to available, so when I make this particular payment against this particular vendor. So this is my invoice number. So for this invoice number, if I make the payment, so that is when the status will change to available. So now what is the exact meaning of available is that, so I have created this particular advance. So this advance is available for the invoice application. So which means that if I create the invoice, so I'll be able to apply this particular transaction. Okay, so that's the meaning. So now what I will do is that, so I'll just make a payment. Okay, for payment again, I'll have to add the role. Okay, so let me. Maybe one of The secondary ledgers are probably might be having some issue. Okay, fine. Okay, let me just add this role and we'll try to probably make the payment and we'll see the status of that particular invoice. And then what I will do is that, so I'll try to create one three-way matching purchase order, okay? And then we'll create one invoice and we'll try to create this invoice or match this invoice with the prepayment that we have created it here. Okay, so this is what we'll see. So firstly, I'll add the role to this user. Okay, so given the payment role also, so let me give the access and then we should be able to access that particular payment option. Okay, so this is the business unit. Okay, so this is the invoice. So probably now we should be, yeah, it is there. So I'll, okay, the approval. Okay, I'll have to change the option first. Okay, so it is the invoice option where we change this. Okay, so I'll just select the business unit and I'll do the same activity. So if you remember, so the last time also we did the same thing. So that's the same one that I'll do it now. And then we'll try to complete this activity. Okay, so it is here, that is allow force approval. So it is done. So now let me go again and do a force approval. Exit is not allowed. Okay, now it is done. So I'll just say painful. Okay, so now this payment is completed. So now the status should get changed to available. Okay, yeah. So the status has changed to available. So now if I try to create one manual invoice or one PO matched invoice. So when we say PO matched invoice, so which means that we are trying to do three-way matching. Okay, so we will try to receive the item. Okay, and then we'll come to the screen and create one standard invoice, and then we'll try to apply this particular transaction. Okay, so now basically what we are trying to do is that, so we have this amount that is 32,000. Okay, so now probably there will be certain business need wherein supplier might request for the advance. So unless we give this advance amount, so supplier is not going to deliver the item. So that is the scenario that we are talking about here. So in that case, so this particular user will have to give us uh, the quantity. So for in order to do that, so we'll have to give certain advance. Okay, so in this case, we have given 30,000 as an advance. So the tax is 2,286. Okay, so now if I create one particular invoice for, let's say, 10,000, so now system should allow us to basically apply to this particular transaction. So now if you see, so we made payment. So in this particular transaction or the previous transaction, so we made payment to this particular vendor basically. But now what we will try to do is that, so we will not do the payment, but this particular process will make sure that this advance is reduced, and also whatever we want to pay to this particular vendor, so that will get reduced to the extent of 10,000. So whatever the amount that we are trying to book as a purchaser. Okay, so I'll just go to the purchaser screen. Okay, I think we did not see the approval hierarchy for this thing, the requisition. Okay, so the sequence of steps will go something like this. Okay, so we'll have to do the requisition approval, which means I'm talking about the configuration. Okay, so once this is done, then we'll have to create the requisition. Okay, and send for approval. Once it is approved, so then we'll have to convert it into PO. Again, this PO will go to approval process, so it will get approved. So once this is done, so we'll have to do the receipt. So here we'll see different scenarios. Okay, so for this particular activity, so we are not going to see the multiple scenarios, but we'll see these scenarios. So wherein we'll see what if I receive as full and what if I receive as partial. Okay. And then this is nothing but the three-way matching that we will do. Okay. And then we'll try to match the receipt. So till now what we have seen is that matching the purchase order with invoice. So in this case we'll match the receipt. Okay, so even though the purchase order number is shown there, so it is the receipt number that we are trying to match here. Okay, so we'll match the receipt and then validate the invoice and the rest of the things we know. So it's only about the what do you call it, the application part that is pending. Okay, so after validate, so we'll have to apply this particular amount to invoice, sorry, to prepayment. Because, okay, so apart from that, so we will also have certain pop-up. So pop-up in the sense it's not exactly the pop-up screen that we are talking about. So here, if you see, so we will have something like a notification, which means that there is some advance that is lying for this particular vendor. Because there are certain scenarios where business might miss this advance that is pending with this particular supplier, because this flow will go something like this, which means that this business process flow that I'm talking about. Okay, so now the flow will be starting at the requisition phase. So wherein there will be a procurement or the probably let's say the production department. Okay, so this production department request for the item. So now this request is sent to this particular person. Okay, who's sitting in head office, so who handles this purchase order. So this person creates the purchase order and he releases this particular PO to vendor. Okay, so once that is done, so vendor is preparing or manufacturing the item. So once this is manufactured, so then the items are sent to this particular person, which means that the customer. Okay, and the receipt is created and acknowledged the delivery. Okay, so once the delivery is done, so then we'll have to create the invoice. So now, as part of this, so this person will also request for the advance payment, because he is the one who knows whether this vendor will need the advance or the B vendor needs the advance. Okay, so he is the one who will raise the advance request. But now there is a possibility that whoever has raised it, so because this scenario I have seen it in one of my projects, so wherein this person is not able to track it at a whole, because the data is maintained somewhere in their local office system. Okay, so it, since it is not there in the system, so they couldn't track it. Okay, and also in the application, if we see, so it is just an icon that will be seeing there. Okay, so for this, so it is requested to handle through a notification as an email. So how do we do email is that? So again here we will need technical help, technical hands. So in order to trigger this particular notification as an email. Okay, but then the process is something like this. So once we send this particular purchase order, so this purchase order should be notified. So now on the basis of what we will basically send this request. So now let's say the purchase order date is, let's assume that 3rd of December, sorry, January. Okay, 2024. So now this person who's raising this request knows that when this item will be delivered. Okay, and also he knows that when this particular invoice should be matched with the prepayment. Okay, so now this PO date what we are referring to is the advance. Okay, so advance date is again the same date. So now on 3rd, which means today's date, I have paid the advance. Okay, so this person knows that on what date this particular invoice will be received. So let's assume that the invoice date is 10th of January. Okay. So now in this case, so it is between 7 days time I'll get this data. So now in the purchase order screen, which means this is matched with the prepayment or the advance. So now what I will do is that as part of this, so I also capture when this particular data should be captured, which means here the invoice date is 10th. So this notification will be sent to this particular person or the list of persons on, let's say, 8th of January. Okay, so that the concerned department, so mostly it is the finance department and the procurement department who will be notified with this requirement. Okay, along with the user who has created it. Okay, let me call this as I mean production department. Okay, so these are the three users who will be notified. Okay, so these are the requests that I have received. Okay, so now it's the duty of this person who has raised this request to follow with these two departments and get it applied with this particular this thing. Because if it is not notified, then there will be a possibility that this person who is sitting in the finance department who doesn't know for what reason we raised it and whether we have this request or not. Okay, so now this person should follow and basis on that, so the purchase order that we create to and create it as a standard invoice, so that will be applied to the advance as the prepayment amount. Okay, so now this is the requirement. So for this, so we have created this one, the first part we have created it, so that is we have created the purchase order, we have created the advance. Okay, and then also we have completed the payment. So now the status of this particular advances available. Okay, so the next step is to create this requisition approval setup and then create these transactions. Okay, so this is what we have planned for it. So since it is already 11:30, so probably we can stop at this point and we'll see these things tomorrow. So we'll cover these items tomorrow. Okay,
Okay.
and then we'll start with this thing. So that is receiving the items partially and receiving the items full. So how this is behaved in finance module. Okay, so this flow we'll see tomorrow.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay.